Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. Today's episode looks at one of the most surprising decisions in artificial intelligence this year. OpenAI has announced it's shutting down Sora, its AI video platform, just a year after it became one of the most talked about technology products in the world. When Sora first appeared, suddenly anyone could type a few words into a prompt and create a cinematic video in seconds. You no longer needed expensive cameras, editing suites, lighting rigs, actors, or special effects teams. You could simply describe what you wanted and watch the system generate it. For many people, Sora represented the next major leap after ChatGPT. If ChatGPT changed how we create text, Sora looks set to transform how we create video. It captured the public imagination because it felt both powerful and unsettling at the same time. OpenAI first introduced Sora publicly in late 2024, but the product really gained momentum after the launch of Sora 2 and its standalone app in September 2025. Within days, it reached the top of Apple's App Store. Users were generating bizarre, funny, and often highly realistic videos, ranging from celebrities doing impossible stunts to animals acting like humans. At the time, it seemed like OpenAI had another massive hit on its hands. So why would a company shut down a product that had so much attention, so much consumer awareness, and so much potential? That's the question at the center of today's episode. The first thing to understand is that Sora was not simply a fun consumer app. It was also extremely expensive to run. Video generation requires far more computing power than text generation. Creating realistic moving images, maintaining continuity from frame to frame, simulating lighting, movement, and emotion all requires enormous amounts of processing power. Unlike ChatGPT, which can produce a response in a few seconds using text alone, Sora had to generate dozens or even hundreds of coherent visual frames for every prompt. Multiply that by millions of users, and the costs become enormous. Reports suggest that OpenAI increasingly viewed Sora as a distraction from its core business priorities. Rather than continuing to spread its engineering resources across multiple experimental products, the company appears to be narrowing its focus around the products that generate the greatest long-term commercial value. This matters because OpenAI is reportedly preparing for a future stock market listing. In the run-up to an IPO, investors want to see focus, discipline, predictable revenue, and a clear product roadmap. Sora may have been exciting, but it was also risky. It was difficult to moderate, difficult to monetize, and expensive to operate. According to reports, OpenAI is now concentrating on areas such as ChatGPT, coding tools like Codex, enterprise products, agentic AI systems, robotics, and a broader super app strategy that could combine multiple capabilities into one unified experience. This super app idea is especially interesting. For years, technology companies have dreamed of building a single platform that becomes central to people's digital lives. In China, WeChat became the classic example. In the West, no company has fully achieved it. OpenAI now appears to believe that the future lies not in separate standalone products like Sora, but in one integrated assistant that can chat, search, code, browse, create documents, and perhaps eventually complete real-world tasks on your behalf. If that is the strategy, then Sora starts to look less like a future flagship product and more like a side project that no longer fits the roadmap. There is another factor here too, and that is moderation. One of the biggest challenges with AI video is not generating the content, it is controlling the content once people start using it at scale. Sora quickly became associated with deepfakes, misinformation, violent videos, racist content, and copyrighted characters. Even when companies put safeguards in place, users often find ways around them. This is an issue every AI company is wrestling with. Text can be harmful, images can be harmful, but with AI video it becomes easier to manipulate public opinion, spread fake news, impersonate public figures, and damage reputations. Imagine an election campaign where fabricated videos of politicians appear online days before voting. Imagine fake footage of a chief executive announcing mass redundancies. Imagine fabricated videos of military attacks, protests, or financial scandals. In that world, trust becomes the most valuable commodity of all. It's possible that OpenAI simply decided the risks outweighed the rewards. There is also the copyright issue. Sora was exciting because it could create familiar worlds and recognizable characters, but that created obvious legal tensions. If users generate videos featuring copyrighted intellectual property, who is responsible? The user, the platform, the AI model? Nobody really knows yet because the law is still catching up. OpenAI had signed a deal with Disney that would allow Sora users to generate videos featuring more than 200 licensed characters from Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars. That partnership is now ending because of Sora's closure. That's a major signal to the wider market. For media companies, AI video offers huge opportunities. It could allow fans to create their own stories, brands to produce personalized marketing, and studios to generate content faster than ever before. But it also raises enormous questions around intellectual property, royalties, licensing, and creative control. If a user creates a new Star Wars scene using AI, who owns it? If an AI-generated Marvel video goes viral, who gets paid? If AI models are trained on decades of films, TV shows, and copyrighted material, what compensation should creators receive? These are not small questions. They are some of the biggest commercial and legal questions facing the entire creative industry. There is another angle worth discussing, and that is what Sora's shutdown tells us about the wider AI market. Over the last 2 years, there's been a huge race to launch products quickly. Every company wanted to be seen as innovative. Every firm wanted to prove it had an AI strategy. Sometimes that meant releasing products before there was a clear business case, before the moderation tools were ready, or before the economics made sense. Sora may be one of the clearest examples yet that not every viral AI product becomes a sustainable business. Being technically impressive is not enough. You need a product that people will use regularly. You need a business model that makes money. You need infrastructure costs that are manageable. You need legal protection. You need safeguards. And increasingly, you need investors who believe the product fits a larger long-term strategy. Reports suggest Sora downloads fell sharply after the initial excitement. That decline matters because it shows how quickly hype can fade. People may try a product once because it's entertaining, but turning occasional curiosity into long-term daily usage is much harder. We've seen this pattern many times in technology. A product launches with huge excitement, everyone talks about it for a few months, and then users quietly move on because the novelty wears off. That doesn't mean the technology failed, it simply means the product did not become essential. OpenAI also appears to be betting that coding tools and productivity tools will generate stronger long-term returns than entertainment products. Codex, its coding product, is reportedly generating more than $1 billion in annualized revenue. That is a very different commercial proposition from a video app that is expensive to operate and difficult to moderate. From a business perspective, the decision becomes easier to understand. If you're preparing for a public listing, would you rather present investors with a profitable enterprise software business or a costly consumer entertainment app with legal and moderation headaches? The answer is obvious. There is also an internal cultural story here. For years, OpenAI was known for experimentation. It tried lots of different ideas. Some worked brilliantly, others did not. But as companies grow, they often become more cautious. Many technology leaders listening today will recognize this pattern from their own organizations. At some point, every company faces difficult choices about where to invest and where to stop. You can't do everything. You can't fund every project forever, and you can't spread your best people across too many initiatives. Strong leadership is often about deciding what not to do. And that's perhaps the biggest lesson from the Sora story. Sometimes the smartest strategic move is not launching something new. Sometimes it is having the courage to shut something down. Even if the product is popular, even if it gets headlines, even if people are disappointed, because focus matters. For technology leaders, there are several practical lessons here. First, hype is not the same as value. Just because a technology gets attention does not mean it will become commercially successful. Second, always think about sustainability. Can you afford the infrastructure costs? Can you support the platform at scale? Can you moderate harmful content? Can you manage legal risk? Third, make sure every product aligns with your long-term strategy. A product can be impressive, but if it does not fit where your business is heading, it may become a distraction. And finally, do not be afraid to make difficult decisions. The best leaders are not the ones who chase every trend. They're the ones who know when to double down, when to pivot, and when to walk away. Sora may be disappearing, but AI video is not going away. Other companies will continue to develop video generation tools. New startups will emerge, Hollywood will continue experimenting, brands will continue using AI-generated media, and governments will increasingly step in with new rules around copyright, misinformation, and deepfakes. In many ways, Sora was probably ahead of its time. The technology was remarkable, but the economics, the moderation challenges, and the business model may not have been ready yet. And perhaps that is the real story here. The future of AI is not just about what can be built. It's about what can be built responsibly, sustainably, and profitably. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok. And let me know your thoughts on OpenAI closing down Sora. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.